Welcome to the Rising Entrepreneurs Podcast, where we feature top founders and entrepreneurs and their journey. Now, let's get started with the show.
Dr. Jeremy Weiss here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. Today is no different. I have Mike Gunderson. You could check him out at Gundir, Gundir.com and PostReminder.com. Mike, before I formally introduce you, I always like to point out other episodes of the podcast people should check out. Since this is part of the top direct response series, I love direct response, Mike, and there's no better way through the mail, in my opinion, to get people's attention. And so some of the interviews in that category, I had the infomercial king. People have seen Ron Popeil on the podcast. That you know who I'm talking about, right? Mike? Okay. He's a legend, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's amazing. But wait, there's more. I think he came up with that phrase. I had Carlene Anglade Cole, Life as a 50-year-old white male. She wrote a book called that. Now, she's not white or is she male? So that's what makes it interesting. But she wrote copy for that industry. I think that. Like prostate copy, like other specific copy. So that was she's hilarious. That's a good one. Paul Bigham talked about crafting compelling sales copy. Jason Fladlin, even though it wasn't really about direct response, it is. I mean, he was talking about mastering the art of webinars, and he's a master at webinars. He even I think taught Zoom some stuff about webinars to give people an idea. And I had Bob Bly on the podcast, who we, both Mike and I mutually like Bob Bly's stuff. There's so many more. I can, check it out. We'll hear some of Mike's recommendations too. This episode is brought to you by Rise 25. At Rise 25, we help people give to and connect to their dream relationships and partnerships. We do that in two ways. One, we help companies launch and run a podcast. We're an easy button for a company to do that. We do all the strategy, accountability, and execution. So kind of, Mike, we call ourselves the magic elves that run in the background and make it look easy for the hosts. They can create amazing relationships and content. Most importantly, run their business. Number two, we're an easy button for a company's corporate gifting program. For us, staying top of mind for clients, partners, prospects. We want to make it simple and seamless and affordable. So we do that, so people can keep in touch and, build greater relationships. For me, Mike, I'm always looking at ways how I can give to my best relationships. And I found no better way over the past decade on both of those things. Having my podcast, send them cool things. I like to send food personally, just as a touch point. So you can check everything out at rise25.com. I'm excited to introduce Mike Gunderson. He's been at the helm of Gundir since 2003. So he's really been at the forefront of direct marketing industry for many years. He even earned the title of the top direct mail agency in the United States by Clutch in 2024. And at Gundir, they help supercharge your leads funnel with direct mail. They have a really, obviously, decades of experience of direct mail expertise. We will talk about PostReminder, which is a technology which is the craze that people are talking about. So we'll talk about that, Mike.
That's right.
And he's also been a part of EO Entrepreneurs Organization, Silicon Valley, is past president, and dedicates his time to the Inclusive Sports Foundation. So, Mike, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks so much. Great intro. Appreciate it.
Let's start off with Gundir and what you do. I'm going to pull up your site because there is a video piece to this, and give us a little snapshot.
Sure. Yeah. So what Gundir does is we, essentially do direct mail marketing for some of the largest companies in the world. We also focus on well-funded startups and fintechs to really bring direct mail to market. Oftentimes, a lot of these companies are driving their sales funnel with digital marketing. And so this is a way for us to actually pre-qualify individuals, get them a really great lead list, and get them to go out and start to build that business via the direct mail channel. As you mentioned, we've been doing it for, over 23 years. I kind of cut my teeth in direct mail, working for a large credit card manufacturer called Providian Financial, credit card provider called Providian Financial. And if somebody was to tell me that I was going to be designing direct mail coming out of art school, I would never have thought that's what I'd be doing. The funny thing is, though, is I just loved it. I love the analytics. I like being able to have accountability. I like being able to change a color, a logo, a photo, and actually being able to see the impact that it has on the overall marketing piece. And so with that, I just fell in love with the channel. And so really, from 2003 on, just been continuing to grow this company. We're up over 30 people now, and we are soup to nuts. We do everything from strategy to targeting to creative to production to analytics at the end of the day, really being able to deliver back to our clients a successful direct mail program.
I geek out on this stuff. And I know sometimes you have to convince people they need to do direct mail. And for me, it's just like, it seems obvious, right? Because you get something interesting in the mail. And especially now, everything's digital, right? We're getting emails and something in your hand. So I love to, this really gets the creative juices flowing for me, Mike. So I want to selfishly look at some of the stuff you've done so we can see, people can get ideas. Like, what can you actually do? Not in front of the computer, it's landing in someone's inbox and the responses. So, and look at some of the pieces that you send, because you have some unique things that you're sending and how you send them.
Sure.
So I don't know which one, we're on the portfolio page here. Which one would be interesting to pull up first that maybe was something cool that you're like, this was cool that we created this and it got a good response.
Yeah, well, AAA is a good one. If you want to click on that one, there's a couple of
Sure.
really great examples in there.
Yeah.
AAA came to us, really early on. We were working with them, trying to develop new creative. And they basically said, hey, we need a shot in the arm. We need something to start to increase our response and conversion rates. And so they brought us in as a creative partner to basically come in, ideate, and try to figure out ways to not only increase performance through design, copy, and offer, but also, is there a way that we can actually make some of these packages more efficient? Can we actually reduce some of the package components in our mail in order to drive up the ROI on that direct mail? And so that's what we ended up doing for them. But we also got to do some really creative, some really creative packages for them as well. As like this piece right here. This is basically a large window that has a very big window. And on that window is this little pop out car that you can pop out and you can kind of build this car and really interact with this direct mail piece. Now, what's cool about this is you want to get inside of the envelope just to kind of pop it out. Like it's almost impossible to throw it away without going in and popping out this car. But what we did that was extra special on this is we actually added a new leather smell to the actual. It's a
Really?
that you can
Interesting.
put onto the direct mail piece. And so when they're interacting with this car, they're getting a new car smell along with it. And it was a very cool way to engage. Of course, they're then going to read the letter, they're going to read the call to action, and at the end of the day, respond to the offer.
That seems like a tough thing to do.
What's that?
I feel like you should like have a cologne product or something with that.
Yeah,
That should have been bottled, maybe a deodorant. I don't know.
I was just on a webinar with a company called Centisphere, and what they do is they do this. They have these really great varnishes that you can add right to your direct mail pieces. So if you want something that smells like flowers for Mother's Day, or if you want something that smells like apple pie for a Thanksgiving Day promotion, you can do that with them. And they have just a really cool process where they'll actually send you samples, so you can kind of go through all the
That's
different
incredible.
scents. Yeah, it's amazing. And that's the thing, right? With direct mail, you can't get that with digital. There's no smell-o-vision with digital, but with
Sometimes that's a good thing.
yeah, sometimes, right? But at the end of the day, you're interacting with the piece. You're seeing it, you're smelling it, you're feeling it, right? And then even sometimes, in the case of like a video mailer or a mailer that has like a sound chip in it, you can actually hear the direct mail. So it's really come a long way, and all the different aspects of it, and how you get these people's attention in the mailbox.
It's really just engaging the different senses of the body. And that's really cool. And I love how it's very tactile, right? Because they're popping it out, they're playing with it, it's interactive. Because most is like, okay, and listen, I'm a AAA member, I get it. I'm like, okay. But this is very unique. I want to get to some other examples, but what are some of the crazy things when you think of over the years that you, whatever the response is, but crazy things that you sent or maybe received
Yeah,
in the
well,
mail?
going from because so we are a direct mail agency, so oftentimes printers want to get our attention, right? They want to try to figure out how do I get their attention so we can get some of their business. And I had one guy send me, I mean, they'd send me all kinds of crazy stuff, but I remember getting a full hockey stick in the mail. So it was literally he mailed the whole hockey stick in the mail with a label. It came as a hockey stick. And I had some clever copy attached to it, but it was impossible not to get my attention and get a laugh out of it. I just got something from American Express. They just sent me a little tiny monitor that's basically an add-on monitor from HP, basically thanking me for my business for being a platinum customer, and literally sent me this dimensional box. You pull it out, it's got a second monitor, and basically said it's just a gift. Like it's just thanks for being our customer for over 10 years. And so doing things like that, you had mentioned gifting. I mean, that's so powerful because really, okay, here's an email. Maybe even you're giving somebody, say like a gift card through Amazon. Okay, those are all really great, and yes, they'll thank you, and they're like, well, that's really special. But when you're sending things like specialized or personalized cookies in the mail, or like right now, we're sending, you can go on our website and request this book right now. It's getting that physical aspect, right to that consumer and getting them to engage with your product or your brand in a different way. You just sometimes can't get that through on an email or a social media ad.
Totally. Yeah, the hockey stick, that you're gonna open it. I mean, whatever you do with it, but you are gonna be like, what is this
Yeah.
thing? And there was another one which I thought was interesting, Swift Financial.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that one?
Yeah, so Swift Financial, we had built kind of we took over their direct mail program. Now, what they do is they offer business financing to small, medium-sized businesses, and we developed a whole bunch of control packages for them, all of which that were working really well. Well, about 2 to 3 years into it, they were acquired by PayPal, and PayPal basically wanted to have a business division, and so it was kind of a a shop in a box or a business in a box. And so they were able to acquire them and be able to get all that great targeting, all that great direct mail. And one of the things that was interesting is that a lot of our direct mail that we did for Swift Financial was stealth, what we call stealth in nature, which means it's like a blind envelope. So the idea is that I don't know that if you can see this, but it's like something that's nondescript, doesn't really have a brand name. It's not promotional. This, by the way, works really, really well. So it's this kind of stuff. No brand name, nothing. Get the person inside the envelope, get them to read the offer, hopefully get them to respond with really great creative, really great copy on the inside. But we got to get them in the envelope. But because it's B2B, not only do we have to get them in the envelope, but we got to get the right person in the envelope. We can't have an assistant or a secretary toss it out because they think it's junk mail, right? So they relied on a lot of stealth direct mail, and until PayPal acquired them. So as they were going into transition, we started working with PayPal on the creative. And what happened was we started doing A and B tests. And so one test would be Swift Capital by PayPal. One test would be PayPal only, right? And then one test would be blind, like nothing. And what we found through that testing is that leveraging that PayPal name really increase the open rates. So when this is going to businesses, small businesses, and medium-sized businesses, that word PayPal, and there was nothing else. No promotional envelope, no promotional copy on the envelope, but just that logo, increase open rates, increase response rates, and increase conversion rates. So leveraging a really great brand is a really good way to get those folks inside the mail. And if you don't have a well-known brand, leveraging a more stealth approach, something more blind in nature to really get them inside that envelope, deliver that value proposition super quickly, and getting them to respond might be the better approach.
I know that you get a lot of companies and maybe some have never done direct mail, some of them have, and they come with their own thoughts, ideas regardless. So I love to talk about some mistakes people make because I'm sure you have to talk people out of, well, I think this will work, Mike. Like, well, from 20 years, we've tested things like that, and maybe you have a best recommendation. Hopefully they listen to you and they listen to this. right? What are some mistakes people make? And maybe we'll break it down the outside and the inside, right? Because like you said, there's mistakes. If you make them on the outside, they're never gonna see the inside. So let's talk about outside mistakes first, and then we can go to maybe inside.
Yeah, well, the one thing I would say, and this is more from a package format perspective, is when you're doing B2B sales, especially, and say you're doing ABM marketing, so you're marketing maybe a small subset, maybe you have 1,000 names, 1,500 names, maybe 5,000 names, right? And by the way, the companies we work with, we're doing 100,000, 500,000, a million pieces of mail per month. That's kind of our volume happy spot. And then, but there's a whole bunch of people doing really great direct mail, in under that 10,000 threshold. But the biggest mistake that I see almost always is everybody wants to go big first. They go, well, I want to send a T-shirt, or I want to send this, or I want to do a dimensional. In theory, it works for, yes, that all sounds great, but let's figure out let's get a baseline. How much will people respond to a letter package, to a 9x12 package, to a flat package? And then let's get a baseline on that at, say, 80 cents, $1 a piece versus this $30 or $40 a piece. And then from there, start to ramp up your efforts and see if you get better response, better conversion rates by having these larger, more expensive packages in the mail. So that's the first thing I always say.
So the mistake starts with what to send first. Gotcha.
It seems like I should spend a lot of money because these guys are all very valuable to me, but you don't have to spend all that much money. Now, the second thing, and this is the big one always that we come up against, is testing. Too often, people want to test 5,000 pieces, 10,000 pieces against, another creative or another creative. Well, here's the problem, and this is a real problem. And every day we're trying to do a better job at it, is we want to increase those response rates. The problem is an average response rate for an acquisition or prospecting campaign is going to be anywhere between 0.5% to 1.5%. So that means out of 100 pieces, one and a half people are going to respond, right? So when you take the folks that respond and then you track them all the way through conversion, you just simply don't have enough volume to make a decision on what a winner is. So if you have a small volume,
and that's probably even a good response rate, right? I mean,
1.5% is a great response rate, especially for B2B.
Yeah.
And which is another reason why you want to make sure you're testing into those lower cost packages, because you want to be able to get more mail out there. And now the trick is, okay, well, if it is a smaller volume, and let's say that that lower cost package doesn't work, should I then go to a more expensive package? Yes, absolutely. But just don't do it the first time. Like, just try to get the low hanging fruit and see who says, this is a really great product. This is a really great brand. This is something that my company needs. The targeting is on point. Let's go ahead and do business together. And let's do that for $1 a piece versus $30 a piece, and just see where does that land. Now, you might not get anything, and that's okay. Then you can ramp it up and just kind of keep testing up. And on those smaller volumes, don't A/B test. It's impossible. You're never going to be able to read the results on that. So just send out one mailer 1 month, send out another mailer the next month. Test into remail strategies. So test, remailing the same person twice, 3 times, 4 times until they raise their hand. So there's a bunch of different testing you can do that doesn't require large volumes, but you'll still be able to learn a lot from.
Okay. So sending, what to send. What about on the outside?
The outside.
What mistakes people make. Yeah.
Being promotional, man. I hate to say it. And I love to say that the design is the ruler of all, and that's what's going to get people inside the envelope. But ultimately, in our experience, especially with a lot of the brands that we work with, it's really about getting them inside that envelope. So if you're doing a postcard or a self-mailer, that's like a double postcard that folds, be promotional. If you have a very visual brand, if it's retail, if it's something that's easy to understand, or you have a really great offer, promotional works all day, every day, right? And especially when you pair that to a really well-targeted list.
I'm going to pull up ZipRecruiter for a second, because it looks like that's a good example.
There's some good ones here. ZipRecruiter does a nice job of not only being promotional, but also being stealth. So we've done so much testing with them that we've been able to kind of say, okay, well, stealth works maybe this cohort, but maybe more promotional works for this cohort. I think currently their control package is like an invitation package. It's a It's a 5 by 9 inch package. It usually got some really nice gold foil on it or something like this, and it gets a very good response rate and drives more people to convert. But we've tested like this is kind of a mix. It does have promotional copy, so it's technically considered a promotional envelope, but it's stayed. It's not overly designed. And if you click right, you'll see there's a couple of other packages. Yeah, just click right on those
And
arrows.
by the way, if you're listening to the audio, we're looking at ZipRecruiter, and you can see on the outside of the envelope, well, there's a bunch here, but let me go back to the first one for a second. Um, I lost it. Oh, it says post jobs for free,
Yeah.
right, on here. And so we'll go to a couple of these other ones because I like the one where you're actually have to open it up, you know.
Yeah.
So we'll go to that one too.
My
All right.
son's, it's a cool thing's popping up. Okay. Yeah, so like this example right here is a closed-faced envelope, we call it an invitation package. What's neat about this is once you open it up, you get hit with this very visual reflective foil treatment on the outside. And their team designed this. They did a really great job. And then as you open it up, you have some fun copy. You're able to walk them through. It's not too complicated. And we have this really cool tip-on card that comes off so they can save that for later if they want. They can go ahead and reply instantly. And then that's exactly what it is. Your first post for free. We, as you know, especially as entrepreneurs, is important to drive in really great applicants. And ZipRecruiter is one of those companies that just have done a really great job over the course of 10 years of like driving a lot of value through their platform, including one of the first using AI. And so this has been really successful for them. But the problem is when they first started, there wasn't a lot of brand awareness, right? I mean, it was Indeed, it was Monster. It's these huge brands that have been around forever and ever. And how do these guys break through? And so what we did was we found the prospects for them. So we brought the brand to the prospects, not the other way around. If they were to just pump and pay for pay-per-click, they would probably get drowned on the response on that because they're just going to get outbid all the time. So by having a strategy to go after the customers themselves and bring the awareness to the customer, that's where direct mail became very
Yeah.
successful for them. And
The,
by the
the
way, leaders in podcast advertising as well, they did kind of the same thing there, which is amazing.
why, and listen, I don't sell direct mail like you do, right? But the way I sell people to like think about it is I ask them, have you ever gotten a direct mail piece from Google for Google Ads? And they're like, yeah, and they go, well, guess what? They own Google Ads. Like they could run unlimited ads if they wanted to, right? So I don't know if you've received it, Mike. I have. It's a card. Here's like $100 free or whatever for Google Ads, and they're sending direct mail.
The biggest tech companies in the world are sending direct mail. Amazon, I don't know if you saw their beautiful, I mean, ingenious catalog. I wish I could be the one to say that we worked on it, but they send out their catalog. First of all, my kids love it. They like going through it. They like circling things. The second thing is all you do is take your Amazon app, point it at the image, and it automatically brings up the piece in the catalog, not scanning a QR code, not scanning some other code, not putting in some kind. You just scan the image and it automatically brings up that image in your Amazon app. I mean, that's
Wow,
ingenious. That's a really
it's
cool way to use
crazy.
new technology.
Um, this one, there was another one I wanted to show. There's some obviously unique stuff here with ZipRecruiter playing around with the imaging and everything. But there was just
There's one,
stop. Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead. This
yeah,
one
this
is the
one
one
right
I wanted to
here.
talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, so we call this a snap pack, and this is a pretty awesome format. Now, what I love about this is most snap packs that you see in the mail are going to be kind of black and white. They're going to look very official. They're going to look like some kind of financial document or tax document that you have to take seriously. Now, what we did here was,
And
and
obviously, I just like tactile. I just like to rip the perforations.
yeah,
You know.
exactly. You nailed it, Jeremy. You nailed it because what we realize is it just has to have that look and feel of something official. Now, if you look at this is actually a branded snap pack. It's usually it's their brand is up front. We're using a branded color, a branded pattern. So it's not this scary looking tax document, but it still exudes kind of this I'm important, open me before you throw me away type of situation. And so you perf these off. We're allowing that consumer, that prospect to interact with the mail, roll fold it open, and then have all the information they need right at their fingertips in order to respond.
Yeah, totally. And at what point, when you're rolling these out for ZipRecruiter, are they rolling out like different tests at once, or do you progress? How did it work with them?
Yeah. Well, so at Gundir, we actually now have kind of three levels of service, right? So we have Gundir Launch, and that's for a brand new brand, a brand new a startup, somebody who wants to get into the mail. And we have a very strategic way of basically bringing that mail to market. And that's usually working with our leap and repeat strategy, where we're able to test multiple elements, and then over the course of about 3 to 4 months, we're able to test anywhere between 6 and 12 packages. And then from there, we typically can start to identify the winner. And then from the winner, we start to what we call roll out that mail. So we go from a couple 100,000 pieces of mail to 500,000 pieces of mail to 1 million pieces of mail. That's exactly how we brought ZipRecruiter to market. Now that they're big mailers, and you probably have seen, I'm sure, a ZipRecruiter, direct mailer in your mailbox. But now they can be very strategic about the testing. They can test, based off of seasonality. They can test based off of data and demand. They can test different formats to try to reduce costs. They can also we have what we call just a lot of kind of second in command control packages. So in case one fatigues, we can easily swap it out with another one that's of parity in price, and so that they can get that increase in performance, especially on the remails that they might not be getting in other places. So ZipRecruiter will typically test, anywhere between 3 to 6 different packages, monthly, sometimes quarterly, to see if we can't increase that response and conversion rate just a little bit.
So you mentioned the Gundir launch.
Yeah.
And obviously as things go, over time, and I'm looking at Gundir lead,
Yep.
are they then like, hey, can you acquire, like, the list is important. So
Yeah.
talk about the list piece.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, that's probably, next to producing the direct mail piece and getting out the door, it's really the targeting that's the most important. And so if new folks are new to direct mail, we want to start to build out that list. We want to try to understand exactly, who those customers or those prospects are and who's going to convert. So we oftentimes don't know. We just don't have any baseline data. So we use, of course, demographic and firmographic data. We'll oftentimes utilize a co-op database. So we'll be able to see retail and transaction history. We'll be able to kind of correlate that and then try to build a list that way. That works really, really well. And then once these guys are in market for, 6 months, 8 months, we'll start to utilize the response data, the people that actually responded. So not only are we going after the right size company, the right size revenue, the right size or the right geography, but then we're layering on top of that a model that basically says, out of all this great rich data that we're targeting from, who also responds to direct mail. And so now we can get really, really tight on the targeting, not only going after essentially pre-qualified leads, but then pre-qualified leads that also respond to direct mail. And that's called a response model. And that's been really successful for our clients to be able to continue to grow their direct mail programs.
I remember, Mike, and I don't know if it's a tribute, but I attribute to I don't know if you know Brian Kurtz. I think he's sent over 2 billion pieces of direct mail. He worked for a boardroom, and they were a $150 million company. And he said, Jeremy, Facebook didn't invent lookalike audiences, right? Like, really, it started with direct mail, like you're saying, and figuring out who's likely to buy, and then replicate those people with targeted lists, right?
Yeah, that's 100%. I mean, and there's so many levers within building out a direct mail program. I mean, there is the creative aspect and the offer and the messaging and the copy. That's all super important. And that alone can be a lever, right? Then there's your data and just making sure that you're able to, figure out exactly who's going to be responding to that direct, who's important. I was I was at a mixer just a couple weeks ago, and somebody said, "Well, what do you do?" I said, "Well, we have a direct mail marketing agency." And they go, "Oh, you're the junk mail guys. You send me all this junk mail." And I go, "No, you do probably get junk mail, but we're not the junk mail guys. We don't do that. Everything we send you, there's a very high likelihood you need or may want at some point. Like we're very, very strategic about who we're sending the mail to. Now, not everybody's going to respond to it. As I mentioned, you're looking at 0.5% to 1.5%, but the mail that we're sending you is relevant. We promise. We put a lot of work and effort into making sure that if we're delivering that piece of mail to you, there's a high likelihood that you should be, hopefully should be interested in responding to it. And so and when I say that, they always say, okay, well, and they, I think they feel a little bit better about it. We're not spamming them ultimately, but that's not to say that you don't get direct mail that's spam. There is a spray and pray method to everything with a lot of companies, but we do, at least here at the agency, let's make sure who we're sending this mail is relevant and that they're at least going to be interested in opening it or interacting with that brand or service.
Is it difficult, Mike, to scale this up? Right? Like if you find this, okay, this is the perfect ideal person, you form a list, then you're sending a lot of mail. Like if they're saying hundreds of thousands a month, potentially
Millions a month
or more, right? How do you find big enough lists for this stuff?
Well, so part of us bringing on new clients, that is a criteria for us because we do work in the large volume direct mail space. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're not doing ABM marketing to 500, clients that you really want to get in front of. There's companies out there, Sendoso. It sounds like you guys do that. There's companies out there do a really
For
good
people
job.
who know that's account-based marketing, so you're really just targeting really very small numbers of niche clients. I mean, small, a lot of the things are small compared to what you're sending, Mike, but yeah.
Exactly. And so, what's beautiful about our approach and our method is once we find out that winning combination of list, creative, and format, we're able to scale that with amazing accuracy. And one of the criteria of bringing on a client here is we do want to make sure there's a universe for it, right? So we want to make sure that if it's a ZipRecruiter, if it's a AAA, if it's a SoFi, if it's a Figure, it's a product or service that lends their services to a lot of different people, and so that's how we're able to scale. And then yes, when you're building models, you are going to get a degradation as you start to increase your volume, and so it's up to us to continue to refine those models, make sure that the crate is fresh, making sure that the offer is something that's interesting to get people to respond. And then what's great is you can start to see that really consistent um, you know, performance as you start to scale. You shouldn't see too much degradation on that. Now, there will be a point where your cost per piece goes down and everything kind of like levels out. It's usually about 1 to 1.5 million pieces, at least in our world, to where you really do have to push harder in order to make sure that you're getting those people to respond. But what's beautiful about direct mail, and unlike pay-per-click or other digital services, is as we start to scale, so we go from 100,000 to 200,000 to 500,000 to a million pieces, we're actually our costs to deliver go way down up to between 20 and 35% as you start to scale. And you just don't get that. If you're doing that in pay-per-click, you're starting to bid against bigger players. Everything gets more and more expensive as you scale. This actually gets cheaper and cheaper as you scale, which is a huge benefit to the folks that market with direct mail.
So, we talked about the package itself. We talked about the list being important. We talked about even the outside of the package, and we showed some stuff on the inside, but I want to go a little bit deeper on the inside because there's a lot of pieces on the inside, like the messaging, the copy, the offer, and maybe let's talk about the offer for a second. You have a really cool, and people want to check it out. You can go to Gundir.com and they have if you go under portfolio creative library, we're going to pull a couple of these up here. It'll be fun. So on the inside, I don't know if there's any interesting one that we should pull up. You have a lot of companies here that be from the inside part. We can look at maybe the offer and the copy.
Yeah, you could go to the Dish. Dish, I think, has a couple of like gift card offers in there that are interesting.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the offer is key, right? Because if we're spending the money and we're trying to get people to respond on these packages, you know, it's important to have a good offer. Now, free service is not really an offer. It does get people to respond, but really what we want is an offer on top of an offer, if that makes sense. We want them to respond to this direct mail package. So that means that these are not offers that are meant for everybody. Sally, who lives in California, might get a $150 offer, but Max in Arizona might get a $200 offer. They don't have to be one size fits all. That's what's beautiful is we can actually measure the data, measure the response and the conversion, and we could set an offer that makes the most sense for the type of customer that we're going after. And that's actually kind of a really cool feature that you don't get. It's not like an omni-channel offer where every single channel that you're clicking on gets you that $200 offer. Now, oftentimes that does happen, but we always push our clients to just go a little bit further. Give us a little tiny bit more to put on this direct mail so we can say direct mail exclusive offer. Visit this website, scan this QR code to get this offer. And that's a really, really powerful thing because that helps with our attribution, right? We want to make sure that we get attribution back to the folks that actually receive the direct mail piece. And we don't want them to get this direct mail piece and then 3 days later go into Google and then search up, Dish Network and then just click on that pay-per-click ad. And now we've lost our attribution. Now we'll still get a little bit of that back because we'll do a match back, but we want them to respond with this offer on this URL, on this phone number, or on this QR code. And so offers are super, super important. And I always tell people like, give them something kind of interesting, give them something good. There's so many digital things you can do as well. Like I know with EasyCater, we do I believe we do an Amazon gift card when they sign up. So there's all kinds of things you can do that really can cost you like no money, where you can offer a better deal on the product or service, or you can offer something a little bit more interesting to maybe the person who's placing the order. So maybe this isn't an offer to the company, but maybe it's an offer to the HR manager that's setting up the meeting for their next catering event, right? So we can make them feel special, entice them to utilize the product, respond to the product. And then once product does its thing, now they're in. They're like, okay, this is a very good product. This is something that we want to utilize moving forward.
Yeah, we're looking here at the Easy Cater, and you can see get your $50 Amazon gift card. I remember I had Ben Settle on the podcast. I don't know if you follow his stuff at all, but he's direct response copywriter. He sends a daily email, and I remember him telling me, Jeremy, if you don't have a PS in your emails or in your copy, like he used some stronger words, but that's terrible. Like you should always have a PS. They're going to read the PS, and you could see here in this copy, obviously the offer is in the copy twice, but there's a PS here, and that has it in there. And let's talk about the offer, break down the offer, because like obviously you said exclusive helps, really compelling, but there's an expiration. What are some other things that are in the offer that are key that maybe you take for granted, because you do it so much?
Well, it's trying to make sure that they drive to that URL, that QR code, or that phone number. So if we're spending this money, we're spending this time, and we're delivering this piece of mail, we want to make sure that they're responding to this offer on the direct mail. That's going to give us our attribution. That's going to prove direct mail is a great channel. And that's going to allow, obviously companies to put more spend against this to drive more leads and more conversions. So it is important to have an expiration date. We don't want people to be getting this offer and just think it's open-ended by having that expiration. It sounds really silly, but having that expiration date really allows them to take action. Now, if you don't have an expiration date, that's fine. Make one. If you don't have an offer, still put an expiration date. You can say something like respond by, May 31st, 2025. You don't have to say to get this offer, just say respond by. Just by putting that in there allows people to say there's a stop date to this, and there's a reason why I need to care about it right now. The other thing for attribution is if you're not using a Pearl or a custom QR code, personalized QR code, having an offer code is a really great way to have attribution back to that direct mail. Just saying, hey, put in this code. And plus, when you put that code, it makes the offer feel like it's more exclusive. I have to have this code in order to take advantage of this offer. So having a code on there, I don't know if this one has it. I believe we Might have, yeah, lunch fell right there. Oh no, I don't know. Maybe this one doesn't have it, but almost all of our direct mail either has a customer code, a unique customer code, an offer code of some sort. And then we've gone so far, if you're a serious direct mailer, it's important to do two
There
things.
is a thing that says easycare.com/vanity. I don't know. That may be a
Oh, there you go.
custom URL. Yeah.
But the two things that you want to make sure that you're doing is you're collecting address if you're a serious direct mailer. Now, so many startup brands that I work with say that's going to break the conversion cycle. We don't want to put anything more on the landing page than possible. I say, okay, and that is a problem because we can still do a match back if they collect address, but that address is key to attribution back to these direct mailers. The second best thing would be the offer code, as long as they're putting it in, and the vanity URL, of course, the vanity phone number. All these things are really great. So making sure that you have that is wonderful. Now, if you don't have all that, almost every intake form that I get or that I respond to has a drop down. It says, "How did you hear about us?" So even if you have that, just add direct mail. If you're doing direct mail, just add direct mail to that. At least you're going to get a little bit of incremental attribution back to the direct mail piece if they are just kind of going through your regular sales funnel. But our recommendation is always to have a separate landing page, something that really speaks to the offer, have a separate offer, slightly better than the one that's out there for everybody else, and then making sure that you have some way to track that back, and that's through an offer code, vanity URL, obviously a QR code is beautiful because we get to see every scan, and then of course what I say, an offer code, a generic offer code like spring sale, something like that.
And you could see here, Mike, on the outside that people can see it, promotional stuff on the outside of the envelope. Like I don't have to even open it to see, oh, I get it. It's almost like a free lunch, right? Obviously, they're giving me a $50 Amazon gift card if I order. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll check it out. Let's do it, right? And then obviously inside you said, all of that stuff, but that promotional piece is right here. So it's like prompting me to open it right away. I'm interested. Do you find, I had on, I'd like to hear some interesting use cases. I'm going to share just like one thought, but like I want to hear what are some weird use cases for this. Like I had um the founder of Wild chips. They're made of chicken. Okay, I love them. Jason Wright was great. And I can imagine he was like, I met him at the CrossFit games, because it's a functional food. So there's a very targeted list that would probably respond, right? And I remember the RX Bar founder when I had him on, that's where they started. They started with like CrossFitters, right?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if like that would work for them, like sending to all the CrossFit or athletic people who are really want just a high protein, low carb snack and do a direct mail piece for like a coupon code or something like that. That'd be, have you found that CPG companies are using this or not
Yeah,
really?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've worked with a couple of them. There's a lot of big box DTC companies. You have HelloFresh that do a ton of direct mail, maybe one of the larger direct mailers. Right before the pandemic, I mean, every meal box company was doing direct mail, right? There's a lot of DTC brands like I know Fight Club we worked with to kind of bring that to, again, Fight Club, right? Think about this for a second.
I don't know what Fight Club is. What is it?
So Fight Club is basically like
I mean, I know the movie, but
yeah, they give you a punching bag and then an app, and then they basically can track your boxing and all this stuff. That's such an innovative product. Nobody really knows what to search for. Like, hey, is there an innovative boxing? Like, you may or may not even care.
yeah, I'm not searching. Can I search an
Yeah.
innovative boxing app or
Exactly.
something? Yeah.
But I can bring that to you by basic demographic information and say this person in their 20s or 30s might be interested in an at-home boxing kit during COVID, and then be able to sell them on direct mail that way. So D2C is very big for that. One Medical, there's a lot of different companies here. Nom Nom Now, bringing dog food to pets. So you wouldn't even know to search for that unless it was brought to you. And that's the beautiful thing about direct mail is this is being brought to you. You are a pre-qualified prospect, I'm bringing my brand and my product and my service to you. This might be something you're interested in based off of your demographics, right?
I'm curious, Mike, this is just a selfish question for a second. Can people go to the creative page and I don't like, I have a dog. I'm like, are these offers still good? Like, can I go and actually can I
I don't
actually
think anybody.
use this offer? Like to get $60 off?
Yeah, I mean, almost everything. I mean, everything on our Crave library won't have any, likely any real offers, maybe not even any real
Well, that should be a
expiration date.
benefit of them working with you. They get
That's right.
people get they can get sales straight from your website.
That's so funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, but obviously, if you go to our Crave library, if you're interested in direct mail, our Crave library is a great resource for wonderful creative, and then also our direct mail lookbook, which will ship out to anybody who wants to request it. It's a hardcover book with a ton of examples, a lot of great tips. That's been a really great kind of product for us to kind of give it to new folks in direct mail, and then even folks that are very established and professional direct mailers are finding a lot of really great resources in this book.
Totally.
To just kind of switch it up and come up with some new ideas that might move the needle.
I really think, in my opinion, like someone's like, well, I don't do direct mail, whatever. Like you can get ideas for your website, you can get ideas for your social media, you can get ideas for your paid media on the social channels. Because listen, people are spending a lot of money on these direct mail pieces. It's cheaper to test it online sometimes, just to throw it up and do a quick test and then go further. But I find this gets mine, at least, creative juices flowing on the online stuff as well. I do want to touch on PostReminder and how you came up on that, up with that, and how that fits into the picture.
Yeah, so PostReminder kind of came out of I was talking with my head of data, Alexa, and we were just kind of, we were just ideating on some ideas. And what we were looking at the time was a chart, which was a response curve for I can't remember what product or what service it was, but I think it might have been life insurance. And what we were realizing is we would do a response analysis, a matchback report, 30 days in, 45 days, 60 days in, and then we would continue it even past that. And what we were realizing is we still kept getting responses off of the same exact direct mail piece with that offer code many, many months into the future. And what we had realized was what was happening is people were setting their mail to the side and then getting back to it at some point, which, is we all do it. Oftentimes it ends up in a huge stack and we never get back to it. Or when we do get back to it, the offer has expired, right? So what I was saying to her is like, what'd be really cool is if somehow we could remind people of the mail that they're not responding to in the moment. Maybe they got a mail piece, they looked at it, they were excited about it, and then they had to go pick up their kids and they can't respond to it in the moment. So they typically would just stuff it in their purse, they put it in on their bulletin board, they put it in the stack of mail. What if they could just scan the QR code and say, remind me in a few hours, remind me next week, remind me this weekend to take advantage of this offer. And that's where PostReminder came from. And so what we did was we built a platform that allows you to scan an enhanced QR code. This enhanced QR code not only allows you to respond instantly, which is what we want folks to do, but in addition to that, set a reminder for the advertised offer or event. Another use case is the Gap. So the Gap has been using PostReminder.
I'll do that with like restaurant stuff. I'm like, oh, I want to eat here, but like it'll literally sit in a drawer somewhere and I'll forget about it. And so it's a perfect reminder.
That's right. Well, so with the Gap, what they do is, friends and family sale. They kind of invented the friends and family sale. Don't quote me on that, but that's the first place I ever saw a friends and family sale was the Gap. And it was kind of a big deal. The issue is that they send out these postcards to bring awareness to the friends and family sale just about 4 to 6 days before the sale starts, which is great. It provides awareness. I'm excited. I'd love to be able to save, up to 60% on clothing items. That's fantastic. I love it. I want to pass it to my friends. Well, what we did with them is we added our enhanced QR code. And then when those folks got that postcard just a few days before the sale started, they scanned the QR code to set a reminder for the day the sale started. So even though you scanned it on Tuesday and the sale's not till Saturday, on Saturday, when you're walking around your house drinking your coffee, you get an alert right to your mobile phone that says, hey, today's the Gap Friends and Family sale. click here to get started and start shopping today. And this has been just a really great benefit to their prospects. Is a lot of the mail that they're doing is to their card members. And so they're getting awareness, they're transacting in real time. They're getting a warm up by getting that postcard, and then they're transacting in real time when the sale starts once they get that alert. So that's been another really great use case is when you're trying to promote a sale, when you're trying to promote an event. This is perfect. Think about voting. If you're voting for something, scan the QR code will remind you who to vote for when you get to the polls. So this has been a really great product of bringing this to market and then starting to see it grow in all these different industries has been really exciting for the business.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look at this, Mike, more closely. I'm going to send this. I had a guest, Paul Jarrett of Bulu, and they do a lot of fulfillment stuff, and that'd be really cool for them, whether it's subscription boxes, because you could see, there's a lot of use cases for this. I see the subscription box thing. You put QR codes, set renewal reminders. I mean, that could be appointment reminders. So there's really interesting use cases. Obviously, I could see it with events themselves. There's a lot of cool ways people are using it.
Yeah, the new one that we just tested with a customer was a trade show. So she had a trade show booth. So she got the trade show list, right? That's what we typically do. We get an email list, and then we'll also get a direct mail list oftentimes. And so what she did was she sent out a postcard to everybody who was attending that trade show to basically say, "Hey, come by trade, booth number 387 and get your free sun cap." That's what it was, and like, okay, well, that's great. What do I do with that? Well, before you'd hope to God that they come by your booth, but now she put a call to action, scan the QR code, and we'll remind you on the show floor to come by our booth. And so when they scan and they set a reminder when they're walking the show floor, it says, "Come by our booth and get your free hat," bam, redirects them right to their booth, and they're good to go. And what's beautiful about PostReminder is we really built it for direct mail, but it works awesome for DRTV, anything with a QR code, out of home. And then in addition to that, anything really digital marketing, if you're doing emails, if you're doing social media, you can set reminders for those offer and those events as well.
Amazing. I have one last question, Mike. You can keep it as long or as short as you want. I know we're right at the top of the hour, so if you have to go, you keep it short. I'll let you keep talking as long as you want. But I want to talk about mentors and some of the really key mentors for you. And I know EO has been a big part of your journey. It could be distant mentors and EO mentors, meaning the direct mail people, or, so talk about some mentors and some best advice you've gotten.
Well, that's fantastic. My first and foremost, my mentor is a guy named Don Capri. He was a excellent copywriter. And when I worked at this large credit card company, he kind of took me under his wing and he kind of taught me everything about direct mail. Now, Don Capri's no longer with us, but I tell you what, that guy's amazing. And so, so I learned everything from him. He was so excited. He was as excited as I am now about direct mail. And so he was just always an awesome mentor. The other thing that you mentioned was EO. When my business finally hit $1 million, it was me and a studio artist. That's it. And we grew the business, we got it there. And I had a buddy named Jamie Keating who said, "Hey man, when your business hits this, you have to join EO. It's going to change the trajectory of your business." And he told me this like a year. I think I was at like 500 or 700,000 in sales. And he told me like once it, so I saw him, we're buddies, we rode motorcycles together. And I said, "Hey man, my business finally hit $1 million a year." And he goes, "Good. You're coming to an EO event." So we went there and it was really amazing. I met people like Hunter Elkins and a couple other folks, Scott Allison, who was also a mentor of mine, was fantastic. And from the day I signed on the dotted line and joined EO, my entire business trajectory changed. And I'm not just saying that, like it was profoundly different. I didn't go to business school. I was an art major. I knew nothing about hiring anybody, about finances, about KPIs, for the business, financial KPIs. And EO and my forum I've been in now for 13, almost 14 years. And it has just been an amazing experience. And so from there, I've been able to navigate a lot of different business changes. I've been able to grow my business from 2 people to 30 people. I've been able to grow my revenue from 1 million to 20 million. It's just been a really, really great experience. So I say to anybody out there who thinks they can go alone and do it themselves, there's nothing better than having a peer group like that. Not only for all the stuff you learn and kind of what you learn about yourself and your relationships and everything else, but then also just the events that they put on and the thirst for knowledge and being able to continue to grow yourself and your business. That's just a really great organization.
Love it. Mike, yeah, I'm also in EO Chicago. My business partner, John Corcoran's in EO San Francisco. So we are huge proponents. And just like you said, I'm in even specific peer groups for different industries too, just because I learned so much. So first of all, Mike, I want to thank you. Thanks for sharing your journey, your knowledge. It's fascinating. Everyone can check out Gundir, GUNDIR.com. They could also check out PostReminder.com to learn more. And thank you so much. Thanks, Mike.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thanks for listening to the Rising Entrepreneurs Podcast. This episode is powered by Rise 25. Please subscribe and check out future episodes.